Welcome to the Buy Box Bandits podcast.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Buy Box Bandits podcast. Today, we're joined by the man Thomas Tran, who came on about a year ago when he was significantly less richer than he is today, right? Because since last December, he did over 600K in revenue and over 120K in profit,
And
which
it's
is an
directly
absolute
correlated to the podcast appearance.
the low key, right? Low key, right? Absolutely, man. So
100%.
absolute Chad scaler. So we're here to break down the science of really extending way beyond what you previously thought was possible, and even way beyond what most people think is possible on the arbitrage side of things, especially during November and December, specifically in December, leveraging being fully prepared from an FBA perspective and ripping a ton of FBM. Right. So we're excited to jump in with Thomas Spilly. Just a side note, shout out Boxem. Brand new Amazon FBA shipment tool. As of today, yesterday, when you guys are listening to this in terms of when it comes out, FBM listing is now live within Boxem, so you can manage your business, FBA shipments, 2D barcodes, FBM listing, bunch of analytics stuff on the way too, as well. So make sure you try Boxem completely free on Boxem.com. Thomas, welcome to the show, man. Good to have you back. Significantly richer, family.
What's up?
Thank you for having me, man. Look good. Talk to you guys again. Hey, double back on the Buy Box Bandits. That's got to be a good place to be, man.
Absolutely. Well, we hung out in person a couple times recently, actually, in Cali in May, ASD last August, right? And then 2 weeks ago at Amazon United in Jersey too. So you're doing the Amazon Seller Tour as well. But obviously hasn't always been a big full-time business like you got going right now. Take us back to the beginning. How'd you get into selling on Amazon?
Yeah, so I graduated college and I was like going to be a finance bro. So I studied finance and I was interning at a mortgage bank, right? And I was like, dude, I hated this shit. Like I hated like the sketchy people and just like the corporate life and driving like an hour to work, driving like 2 hours in traffic. Because I live in Southern California, so like everyone knows like the traffic is atrocious. And I was like, this is gonna be my life. Like, it's just really gonna be what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna. So then I just saw a video on YouTube about Amazon FBA on Instagram as well, and then just tapped in with my brother. And then 2 years later, we kind of just, we made it work. It's a very slow and steady process where it's a huge learning curve. But then once you can do your first $1,000 in revenue, then you're like, oh, I can do this over and over again, right? Then you can do 10,000, like, oh, I can do this over and over again, and then it goes to 50,000, then 100,000. Once you like unlock it, you can just keep doubling back and doing it over and over and over again. It's a very repeatable business.
Yeah, and that's the nice part about it too, as well, in terms of like you have to learn a bunch of stuff once, right? But then after it, you just have to focus on product sourcing, basically, which is difficult. We want to make that obviously very clear, but like only got to learn a shipment once. You only got to learn sell AMP once. Only got to learn keep it once, right? You find a couple guys you latch on with. You build a good friend group. I know you guys, Josh, Q, etc. Shout out all those guys and everything, right? Similar to the way we did with Buy Box Bandits back in the day, right? And you could build a pretty good business over time, man, right? So we're going to talk specifically a lot of like just kind of the advanced, like how you're able to do really, really big numbers, but just to provide some further context. So like you started and you said 2022, right? What was the first year like? And what was the second year like comparatively? And let's start digging on some Q4 stuff. So
the first year I started in May of 2022. That year I ended up with doing about 400K in revenue. And then the year after that, really started to scale. I think we did over $1 million, maybe like 1.5, or maybe 2 million actually. It's kind of hard to remember now, but yeah. So it's big, jumping from just like learning how to do it and then starting to scale, and then the year after that, really just implementing all the parts of the business to kind of outsource and automate a lot of the things that are super high ROI, right?
So for some context, what did you start the business with capitalize? Right, because for in your first year, I mean, 400K is still wildly impressive. And I know we've talked about this a lot on the podcast, but right, to be successful, it's a two-part equation: capital and knowledge, right? And so 400K is a significant amount of both to get there. And so, go ahead.
Yeah, so definitely, obviously you have to get your feet wet, so it's not like you're dropping like 100K in your first month, but I think we started, with around like 2K of just like our own money. And then we realized like, oh, this actually works. Like you can actually make a little bit of money. We made a couple sales because I think our first month, we only did like 1,000 in revenue, which in terms of the Amazon space, that's probably only like $100 profit. But just kind of gave us the proof of concept to like, oh, this actually works. And luckily, my brother, he was a realtor before that, and he kind of had really good credit. So we got an LLC and all that. I mean, apply for business credit, and we ran up we had like 100K limit in our first like 2-3 months, which I would say is generally not the average. So that kind of gave us the power to just buy a lot of inventory and to generate a lot more income for sure. But
There's a lesson in there that you didn't necessarily even touch on is like, and a lot of people start this business and are looking up, talking about and thinking about the sorts of products that they should be looking at in the beginning and sourcing for in the beginning. But the only way to accomplish what you did in the first year is to really double down on velocity, right? Is to put velocity at the forefront, because that's what's going to ultimately compound $1 into $1.20, and then 10 into
yeah,
12, 100
yeah,
into 120. It's going to create that compounding effect, almost more so than like hugely profitable inventory will, right? Because
yeah,
if you think about it, if you're in the early stages of a business, the worst possible scenario is to have $5,000 worth of inventory in FBA shelves that's not selling, right? It could be
right,
super profitable. If it doesn't sell, it
definitely,
doesn't do you any good. However, for the newer seller, right, to index more so on velocity as opposed to profit is almost going to serve you better. And obviously, you're a walking example of that, because you were able to turn 2,000 into 400K in revenue, and then a million, 2 million, et cetera, et cetera. All those products are selling quickly, and that's really the only way to see that sort of early growth.
yeah.
When we get
So
just the
yeah, I would say
bolo just restock or something right there. Something
bolo,
like that.
yeah, you're just running the bolo, but it's like I think it's like also a big part is like the obsession too. Like you can't just take this like lightly. It's like a full-time job, right? You really have
Has
to
to
be
be. If you want it
tapped.
to work, has to
Mhm.
be. Has to be.
You have to be tapped in. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, yeah, you can do it part-time, but you're gonna make part-time income or even less. But if you really want to like tap in, like you have to be obsessed. So we were just, I really wanted to make it work, right? I didn't want to go back or I didn't want to go in the corporate world. So my all that was on my mind was I gotta make this shit work, right? So me and my brother were just sourcing, looking at charts all day for weeks and weeks and not even buying a single product because we still didn't understand like what a profitable item was. But then once it actually happened, then you can start to scale. But I think the obsession is a really big part in the success of an Amazon business. Like if you really want to win and you really want to do everything in your power to make yourself win, yeah, then like you're gonna
Well,
be just so much more better than the next person.
Well, early on, it's such a volume game, right?
Yeah.
Because early on, you don't necessarily know where you should be looking, how you should be sourcing, the discount niches, right? All those sorts of things you're not necessarily familiar with. And so you
Mhm.
just have to put reps in and reps and reps, and you have to look at 1,000 products to find the one good one. But ultimately, once you find, a good baseline of products, 10, 20, 30 products, right? All of those have adjacencies. All of those products have 5, 10, 15 sellers that have found that first one, that likely have found a second one, which then connect you to new stores that you haven't seen before, right? In which case you can find new brands that maybe are successful, that aren't super saturated. All those adjacencies you learn from in every product could open the door to something that you didn't know before. But early on, unless you're again tapped in with a bunch of people that have had that experience, it's so hard to kind of gain that momentum. You kind of have to manufacture it.
One thing I kind of want to dig in on specifically. So I think a lot of people like really overestimate how prepared they need to be for Q4 and massively underestimate how much progress they can make in like 2 weeks if they really lock in, right? When you're preparing last year, what if I asked you during September, how much would you have said profit wise you think you could have done in December? Like what were you planning on doing?
I think we're planning on like on a good, really good end, like 50K, 60K,
Boom,
honestly.
exactly, right? And you were able to do about double that. And personally, because I know I was literally the exact same way in terms of like huge, like my biggest month that was like 80K profit, like 470 in rev, right? Like big progress fast, especially for online arbitrage, right? It's not something you can plan for. It's something you decide to do. You harness all your willpower into staying in stock as much as possible on some
Yeah.
certain good FBM listings, right?
Mhm.
So on your case, what were you doing preparation wise last year? Were you all FBM? Were you all FBA? Was it a combination of both? Like, let's talk about all that.
I would say it was mostly FBA actually, because that year we just got the prep center, so we were just coasting throughout the year, doing mostly FBA, a little bit of FBM, not too crazy, but then towards Q4, it's when all the FBA people are selling out. Then you can
Yeah.
have there's a lot of FBM opportunity, especially if you're buying stuff like late November. Like there's no way you're gonna be able to ship that in time FBA. Like you have to FBM. And you know, when it's all the FBA's offers are selling out already in the beginning of December, then you're just printing money FBM
Yep.
throughout December.
The way I think about the timeline is like from now until like November 15th, November 20th, box them 2D barcode shipments, pump inventory into FBA. Don't speculate though. Don't buy stuff and expect it to go up in price, because then someone's just going to take your lunch money and pay less than you during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right?
Yeah.
Sunday before Thanksgiving and Black Friday is when Black Friday sales turn on, which is kind of ironic, but it's just how it is, especially last year. It's just how it is, right? So starting like Black Friday, really starting Thanksgiving, you should have good FBM inventory in stock you bought during the Black Friday sales that started the Sunday before Thanksgiving, right? And from there, right, you'll notice a lot of people do not do FBM. I don't really know why. It's because there used to be a lot of like bad advice about not doing FBM and everything, and kind of people came on the scene and shook it up a lot. But once we hit, you know, late November, December 1st, December 5th, right, there's two groups of Amazon sellers. There's the people in the trenches FBMing, and there's the people taking the time off, and that's fine. You're just going to make less money, right? And everything. So talk through like the biggest days of all time. Like, what does your day actually look like? Because this is what I need people to understand about this time, is that it is a very ugly process.
Yeah, it's crazy because I do this with my brother, right? He's more of like the back end kind of guy, like finance, whatever you want to say. Like I was more of like the horse, like because I live at home with where we have a garage, and he lives in an apartment like 2 hours away. But so I thought I could manage it all myself, and I was just getting like freaking packages all day. Like I have like videos of me just sending out shipments, but and then I was too like prideful. I was like, I'm good. And then he's like, nah, I'm coming up, right, to like stay for like 2 weeks. And like that's crazy because I see him like probably like 3 times a year, and he was here every day for like 2 weeks, middle of December. We would wake up, pre-pack the FBM packages, just to have, so all we have to do is, if it's sold, just slap a label on it, and
That's the
we're
mile
waking up.
strategy.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah,
Such a W move. Such a W move, man.
so we had like stacks of like pre-packaged FBM boxes, and like my whole garage was filled, right? And yeah, I think we did our best days back to back. We think we did 50K revenue in one day, and then the next day we did like 55 or something, which was like absolutely, so we're making like 10K profit both like 2 days in a row each, and that was incredible. But we would wake up, make packages, ship out all this stuff, and then the UPS guy would come pick it up, and yeah, we would go to sleep and do the same thing for like 2 weeks in a row. Like, I'm not even joking. That's literally all we did.
And you do that. You take the time to do that to make your old salary in a week, to make, you know what I mean? To profit, literally profit. Like you take the extra time to do that. Like you owe it to your ancestors and the people who worked very hard to get you here to absolutely go hard on this stuff.
You know, it helps because when you're slapping a label on, you're like, oh, this is $15 profit. $15.
That's a good way to think about it. That's a good way. That's a good tweet right there too.
So,
yeah,
it's like
it's also
so
cool
profit.
because like FBM sales are already like already like fulfilled, right? Already in fruition, right? Whereas FBA, it's like a little more convoluted, whether it's actually going to sell for that amount. And just for some further context, those couple days that were like crazy profitable, how many different SKUs are you guys running? Was it like less than 10? There's probably only a handful.
I would
right?
say like a little bit under 15, maybe like 10, but it was just like 1 or 2 brands. So it was like the variations of that brands, like the SKUs of that brand. So it was probably like 1 or 2 brands for sure.
And I think Miles and you and I would agree with this. That's one of the huge like aspects, you call it maturity as an Amazon seller. It's realizing how powerful depth is with your buying. It's not buying 5, it's buying 50. It's not buying 50, it's buying 200, right? It's easier to buy more deep on a particular ASIN than to 5-10 other ASINs, right? The depth of your buying is going to scale so much quicker and more powerfully than wide, right? Than finding another brand to buy into, or than finding 5 other ASINs, 10 other ASINs, right? That's why clothing and shoes is super powerful for beginners, is because there's just so much depth in those SKUs. One ASIN leads you to one size leads you to 2 or 3, 4 other ones, right? And a lot of the Q4 items operate the same similar way.
Yeah, and your problems during December should be, I have no idea how I'm going to package these orders so quick, right? Because sourcing's not a problem, man. Yeah, man. Oh yeah, facts, right? Because you got Friday's orders, Saturday's orders, Sunday's orders, and then you wake up Monday to all the new orders that also got to go out. The cool thing is we talk all the time about 0-day handling time. You actually don't need that during December. Right? Yeah, at all, man. I mean, I'm talking about being in 2-day handling time and chilling and printing money, because there's just such a lack of competition of people who are really about it. right? And everything. But it's interesting how your problem shift, right? From I can't find enough product to I just need help, fixing these orders, right? And you also just don't need to source much during December if you execute it correctly, right? That's what September, October, November for on testing quick flips, right? And then if you do things correctly, you should have some SKUs you're super excited to go ahead and buy heavy on. Now, how do you know if it's not time to buy heavy on something? You're not super excited to. You should only go hard on something when you're, in my opinion, when you're incredibly excited for it, aka it sold great yesterday. And the way you get that fast proof of concept is going to be doing merch filled primarily, in my opinion, right? Okay. Specifically, are we keeping items at the same price, or are we dragging prices to the moon as well in this process as well of literally getting hundreds of orders per day, in some cases just in the same item?
Yeah, you should be if you're selling out too fast, you should definitely be raising prices. And we definitely, it's like a slow. You just go on you manually do it, go on the listing, see how it looks. So the freaking seller count is going down. Obviously, you got to raise your prices for sure, and you're making extra money because they're paying premium shipping. You get your shipping template, double it. So like your one day, put it to $60, honestly. And I think we probably made like a few $1,000s, if not like $5,000, just like from premium shipping only, because people wanted it so fast that they were willing to pay it. Basically the same price for the product and like $60 for
You're making arbitrage on the shipping too. But like
yeah.
in those couple weeks, you're like living, breathing, eating these listings. For those 10, 15,
'Em
5
so
listings
well.
that you're on,
Yeah.
the competitors, right? You know what their price is. You're watching their offer counts to see if it's going up,
Yeah.
right? You're seeing all these
You're
things
invested.
happening.
You
You're
gotta
heavily
be, yeah,
invested.
right? Like
Yeah.
there's a significantly heightened level of commitment, right? And partially it's just mental bandwidth, which is why young males exceed with this stuff so much, just from like a mental bandwidth perspective
Yeah.
and everything, and just kind of lack of responsibility and everything. But like there's people ripping like, major numbers. Like we're gonna have Sam on the podcast as well, who's for all intents and purposes, she's been doing this for like 15 months. She's given birth during the time frame, and she's done like 3 million in sales, right? So like
Yeah.
you can really
Complete
take this,
dog.
really go hard with the stuff, right? And it's the time to do it, just because your output's so multiplied, right? Couple really important points you said. The shipping templates thing, highly underrated, man. Right? Especially in terms of raising how much you're charging for that shipping as December goes on, right? Just seeing if you can get higher. The interesting thing is Amazon polices certain sellers in certain ways with the expedite shipping, which makes no sense, but it is
Really?
just true, right? So sometimes you might get an email from Amazon and be like, yo, like chill out, fam, like drop it a little bit, right? Amazon Trapper has like the record. I think he charged someone like $400 for expedited shipping. Because it was something like an 80-pound product or something. It was ridiculous. I forget the specifics of it, but it's something absolutely insane. It might have been like a refrigerator or something. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was like several $100s. And then the best is when you sell like a $20 item and they pay $50 for shipping.
Yeah.
And then when you buy shipping same day for that item and Amazon charges you $6 or $12, you've made an extra $40 profit on that item. You don't get that with FBA. Right? You don't get the fast restocking with FBA, right? You don't get the multiple unit orders that you get with FBA. 5% of your orders are multiple units, right? Which if you're selling a lot of SKUs that are very similar, a lot of volume in certain SKUs that people would want multiple of, right? You can get a big benefit of that, right? You can also diversify. I found a lead this morning where it was listing from Dick's Sporting Goods, and there were 2 Amazon listings. They were both profitable. One was an 80K rank, one was a 500K rank, and they were the exact same items. It was the same picture. For whatever reason, there were 2 Amazon listings, so you can list on both, right? Which is a huge hack as well. For this stuff too. If you could say any mistakes you made last Q4, like I've made the major mistake of getting cute and speculating on stuff going up. Any specific Q4 mistakes you made? It's literally true. It is getting cute, speculating, thinking you're smarter than you are, right? It is. Right? That's the
I
way
would say I think our biggest problem was very niche. So basically, we were ordering a bunch of units, but we were being lazy, so we were just doing orders of 20, instead of like a good amount with where the shipping would be fair. Like they would do good on the shipping. So we'd do orders of 20. It would arrive, and it was all scuffed and damaged. And it was like these are like multiple packages, probably like close to like 500, 600 units of throughout the whole Q4. And if all we had to do was just like buy like 3 or 4 units per order, and like they would have shipped it in like a packed box where it wouldn't get damaged during transit. So we had to like return like almost 500 units when that hurt, because that we would have sold that instantly, like in a few days, right? So that would have been like a few $1,000s more
It's
of
a
profit. But
niche
just
mistake though, right? That you
yeah, very
really
niche.
get when you're in the weeds,
Yeah.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the most unique problems I think I've ever even heard of. Like someone say on like one of the podcasts where like if you
Yeah.
order 5, they ship it nicely. If you order 20, they ship it badly.
Yeah, because
Right?
they were shipping from retail like stores, which
Makes
a lot
sense.
of
Yeah.
companies do. So like during Q4, I think they just had employees that were just like, I don't give a fuck, and they just throw it about. I've seen like they had paper towels and they had like napkins. Like I'm not even joking. They had like toilet paper. I'm not even. I have like pictures of them like just throwing
Find
stuff in a
someone's used
box.
watch in the
They ran
box.
because they ran out of packing material, I guess, at the store, and it was just like, incredible like how careless they were. But and the return process was kind of like annoying too because trying to return 500 units is like
I'm sure a pain.
super
But
hard.
hey, it was the retailer's
Yeah.
fault though. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
completely get like the anti-returning. That makes tons of sense. But if it's a retailer's fault,
Yeah.
they have policies around it. Like, you know what I mean? They have
Yeah.
policies around that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and
exactly.
everything. Okay, interesting question here. So 300 or 600K rev is going to be about 300K of inventory spend. Obviously, without getting into too much detail, the average Amazon seller hears that and it's like, damn, like how the hell are you getting that much product? That must be a million different suppliers. That was probably like 7 websites, right?
Yeah, it was probably like 1 or 2, honestly. Yeah, I mean,
But
3 at most, honestly.
But again, and this is something, Miles, that you and I talk about a bunch. It's just like being so in tune with the websites, like knowing the websites.
Knowing
That's
them well.
that's a competitive advantage in and in itself.
Yep.
It's
Yep,
it's being able to know, okay, this app's website.
exactly. Because
If I order
uh,
10 units, it's gonna get
mhm,
canceled. If I do 5, it's good, right? If I do
right,
6, it's gonna
yeah,
cancel 5, it's good,
right.
right?
So
Or I
yeah,
need to use PayPal, or I need to use this particular credit card, or I need to switch
mhm,
my billing address or a shipping
right,
address, or whatever the case may be. It's really digging into a particular website because that order efficiency, the ease of purchase establishes a moat
mhm,
because
yep,
you can make up for everything else just with pure volume.
yep. And I think a big factor is also like when like the products are good, but they're not in stock, and you have to find out when they restock. So like we'd be waiting at like 1 a.m. and like we know when it's gonna restock. So it was like 5 people on a call, and we were just like we were like, oh, it's restock. Everyone, do you guys see it? And we
Those
all
no
just
no no. Those are the best moments of my entire life.
yeah, we
Those are
just
the like
rage.
that's peak
Yeah.
human experience there. I
They're like,
swear, bro. I
they're like,
swear.
do you see it? It's in stock. They're like, no, I don't see it. Like, oh, I'm checking out right now. And then it's like, there's like, dude, I
Refresh,
did it
refresh,
again. I
refresh,
don't see
refresh.
it. Like, I don't see it. I'm like, dude, you're missing
And
out on the
the
bag.
funny part about that is you probably haven't even met half these dudes in person. Now you probably have, but back then
Yeah,
you
yeah,
probably hadn't.
yeah, exactly. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's very true.
Yeah. And so how'd you find those dudes, man? Because like that's like that makes this business so worthwhile. Like we're here to make money, but what keeps you going in the hard times is the boys, right? So how'd you find the boys?
Yeah, just posting on Twitter, and like people would reach out. I think I created a little community of like just like serious Amazon sellers. The people that are like super active and participate, like those are the guys that you want on your team, right? Like that are willing to like share knowledge and do that, and not just be like, hey, like what's your best ASIN, right? Like they actually, you're bouncing ideas and all that. And yeah, post on Twitter, post on Instagram, post on Facebook. I don't know, post anywhere where
Yeah,
you can like
what's inspired you to get a lot more active with that stuff lately? Because you've been doing the day in the lives for like 70 days in a row or something, right?
yeah, 90, like 95. I don't know. I talked to a couple of people that are doing content, and it just, they literally say like it will change your life. Like the who in your business is way better than the how. Like the people you meet are gonna like literally change your life. And the best way to do that in this modern age is make content, right? Because like you're targeting a niche uh group of people with your content, which is Amazon sellers, right? So I met a ton of people. That's why I'm on this podcast right now, because I
Totally,
posted
bro.
on Twitter and on Instagram, like that. So definitely do it.
I mean, the wild thing is, like, in those relationships, yeah, they start business related, but then they spiral everywhere else,
Everywhere else,
right?
bro.
Then you have
Yeah.
homies that you ride or die with in every aspect.
Yeah, yeah. And just
Literally,
travel with
that is so
New York.
completely true. Another interesting thing too is that you live in Southern California, massively high sales
Yep.
tax area, right? Just kind of in
Yep.
general, I've been learning more and more. Like I've been really starting to check on like every website. There's a ton of websites that accept tax exempt. So you want to make sure you have that permit. Even if you're just doing OA, but if you're doing RA, there's a ton of good opportunities with just bringing that documentation with you, getting to avoid sales tax as well. And then definitely for wholesale, it's literally going to be required specifically. So have you done any wholesale? And if so, what keeps you from doing more of it? Because you have obviously a sick OA operation.
Yeah. So I used to do a lot of wholesale. Like this beginning of the year, we kind of like I was the wholesale guy, so I was doing a lot of outreach and all that. And it became up to a point where the business was probably doing like 30% wholesale. But then I started dialing down because the profitable stuff, like I was taking the price and like they like were on my ass about map and stuff and didn't really work out. And then I was planting a lot of seeds, so I was doing like a wholesale bundle. So I got the trademark and all that. And then but then I was doing content at the same time. And then I realized like the content was kind of blowing up. So I was like, maybe I should start dial down, focus a little bit more on content. And then, in turn, the OA business kind of goes hand in hand with like content because I'm trying to help out people, teaching them how OA works and how to do it. And yeah, I'm not like a super expert on wholesale, but I definitely have some experience.
Yeah, so basically, you had choices, right? And you decided to, continue growing your personal brand and doubling down on OA specifically. I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
beauty in that. I also think there's a lot of beauty in focusing on wholesale Q1, Q2, focusing on OA Q3, Q4. Our buddy Sawyer does that a lot. I think that makes a ton of sense as well. So I literally remember this screenshot. It was from almost a year ago. It was a trailing 12 month. I want to say it was from November. And it was like, you posted it in the roadmap Discord. It was like 1.6 mil trailing 12 months. Maybe it was October, September,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever. And then you did 600 in December alone, specifically
yeah.
right there. So that obviously skyrocketed right there too, which is pretty cool. And that really shows the power of just, really, really locking in and committing to FBMing heavily, right? Which is a ton of work, but making money is a ton of work, right? And you can compress massive progress just in such a short time frame. And the way I think about it, right, is just when it gets easy, you want to really, really nicely step up to the plate in general too. So now that you've been in the game a couple years, right, what are the traits and just activities and the types of people you see really succeed with this stuff over multiple years? Because a lot of people don't. Right. But you obviously now at this point have some really good context around seeing people come and go, as well as seeing a bunch of people thrive, man. So what are those traits you see of the winning sellers?
Yeah, I think, like I said in the beginning, it's just like up the obsession. Like you have to be obsessed with winning, right? You can't just take this like, oh, like I'm not gonna work today or I'm not gonna work tomorrow. Like 2 days off, 3 days off. Like you really got to do it every day. 6, 7 days a week. Really just focus on making money. And like another part is just a network too. Like really meet people that are gonna help your business and you're gonna be helping their business succeed because two people can do more than one person by themselves. So
Yep,
those are
that's
like
completely
two
true,
big
man.
things.
Right? That's a good place to finish off. Where can people find you on social media and everything?
Yeah, I mainly post on Instagram now at Wi-Fi Thomas. I have a YouTube channel as well, kind of teaching people how OA works and how to do online arbitrage. Yeah, so Instagram.
Cool.
I post a little bit on Twitter, but I mostly just shit posts. So
Gotcha. Hey,
follow.
what does everyone do? Yeah. What's the
Yeah,
YouTube as well?
I think it's Wi-Fi Thomas.
Cool
Yeah.
as well.
So
Cool. All right,
yeah,
sweet. So y'all check out the
Good,
man
man.
right there. Time to put up another 6-figure prof month this December. Love y'all. Appreciate you guys for tapping in. Check out Boxem on boxem.com. Go follow Thomas on socials and be great, everyone. More content on the way for y'all.